And Queensryche, how did I get that gig? I'd done some session work with Paul Jans at Vancouver Studios, and they had an SSL console in there. It was a nice place to go. I think Pat Glover was our engineer there, doing some overdubs or something there, and there was an assistant engineer there who remembered me and what I was, I had my little Mac Plus, and MIDI interfaces. It was kind of an unusual high tech setup for its time. And then this is back in the days when record companies shelled out big budgets for videos. So we had a new single called "Rocket to My Heart" with Paul Jan. So they flew us down to Miami. This is really funny too, because they didn't give us budget to fly everybody down. So I put my Fender Precision bass in the overhead bin, and I went down and played the part of the bass player in the video. I just like thrashing away mad, like I don't really know. I don't know how this song really went, but I had a leather jacket. I looked cool. In fact, I still have the leather jacket right here that I got from wardrobe for that. And so I was back in my hotel room, and the phone rang, and it was this assistant engineer from Vancouver Studios, and he goes, "Hey, we got a big session coming in here. Are you available to come do some stuff?" And I went, "Well, yeah." Don't even have to ask twice, and it turned out to be Queensryche. So I went from shooting a video in Miami, and then like flew back to Vancouver, and the next week I was teed up there in the studio with them. That was fun.
And you actually showed up late to this first session.
Oh,
What's the story here? What is
that's an
this?
insane story, Joel. I was over at my an acquaintance who was the keyboard player for Doug and the Slugs, and he, trying to hustle enough rent money together. Sometimes I'd go and answer people's Macintosh questions or solve MIDI problems for them and everything. And he had a little thing he wanted some help with, and so I went over to his house, working away, and suddenly you hear this big boom. Like, I mean, what the heck was that? We look outside, and smoke starts coming from the house across the street. And went over there, and I'll be damned, like the house is on fire. And so I, being a curious guy or too stupid to know any better, I poked my head in the door of the house as the side of the house is actually on fire. I go, "Is anybody here?" And everything, this woman, "Oh, I'm upstairs," and everything. So you better come out. I'm not sure if you're aware. So I actually walked in the house and went up the stairs, and it looked out her kitchen window and see the flames coming up outside the window. I says, "I think you better come with me." So she got her shoes, and I let her down outside. And before you know it, the fire department comes, one truck, two trucks. They've got hoses across and everything like that. And then I'm going, "Well, this is all very exciting." They go, "Oh shit, I've got to be at the studio to meet Queensryche. And I can't get out because the fire department hoses are across the thing." So I had to wait for them to, put the fire on. "Can you please, can I drive?" "Oh no, just drive over the hose." It's okay. So finally, I drive over the hose, and I go down to the studio, and I rush and say, "I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm so sorry I'm late." Laid out the whole story. And then if you see on the album, my credit is Rob Rescue Bailey. And yeah, but as a postscript for that whole story, I got home from the studio, and I nailed down, I got the gig. I'm going to be doing some keyboards in this. And I got home, and I had a beer, and I was going, "What a weird day that was." And then the phone rang. It was a reporter from the Vancouver province, and he goes, "Well, we're talking to some people. I understand you were quite the valuable person out there." And just, "Oh no, I just went upstairs." She grabbed her shoes, and I just brought her downstairs, and then I went off and did something else. Didn't think anything of it. Next morning, paper arrives on my doorstep, and there in big block letters is "Musician is fire hero." And I'm like, what the and I got razzed about that with all my friends for quite a while. So my parents got a big kick out of it though. So it was kind of funny.
Just being an everyday hero beside
Yeah, it's just, yeah, but an accidental one. And that was my first taste of, well, sometimes the media kind of gets it wrong. Maybe I can't trust anything I read in the media. But anyway, except on your podcast, I believe everything.
Yes, there's no fake news here. But what's funny is your story is so improbable that you would think that Queensryche doesn't believe you for why you're late. And so then it helps that
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
actually on the
sure.
front cover
House
of the
burned down.
newspaper.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. You could show up the next day with that newspaper as a local hero. So
Well, I did. I did. I brought it in the session. Anyway,
that's
there were
too funny.
other guys. I just went down to Seattle. My friend, a new friend of mine, Casey, has been their drummer for the last few years. So they invited me down to Seattle to go see their show, and they're still out there banging it out on a pretty high level, man. It's pretty cool. They have some fans. They have some hardcore fans, man. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
But
so that album comes out. That's their most commercially successful album. It goes 3 times platinum, so it's selling in the millions. 4 singles: Empire, Best I Can, Silent Lucidity, Jet City Woman. Silent Lucidity goes to #1 and gets nominated for 2 Grammys.
yeah,
So I'm listening to this album in its entirety with my good headphones. Man, it is such an epic album. It
it
sounds
is.
incredible. They did remaster it, so there's like an extra little oomph to it. And the musicianship is just world class. What was it like playing with such world class musicians?
Well, when I started to put stuff on it, all the bed tracks were done. So it wasn't like you're in the room going, 1, 2, 3, 4, let's go. And the drums were done. They sounded great. Chris DeGarmo had just done some amazing guitars. And I think even the lead vocals were done. So we were just like adding some tiddly bits, some icing on the cake. And so I added some keyboard stuff on Silent Lucidity before the producer, Peter Collins, sent it off to Michael Kamen in London to go do the big orchestral strings on it. And Michael Kamen did some strange advanced strings too on We Run. So he was the go-to guy for string arrangements for quite a while. So yeah.
Some of the songs on the album have different time signatures, songs like Best I Can.
Yeah.
Is it difficult or more challenging for a musician to play different time signatures, or is it all the same to you? Did you find you have to count a little different? Like if you
Find
stop
the
paying
groove. Yeah.
attention, you might fall off the time, or
It's not automatic. I heard Stuart Copeland say something about it. He said, he said, it's, if you want to play something in 5/4, he says, just add the word effing to it. And he go, as for example, you go, life is just a bowl of cherries. Well, that's in 4/4. But if you go, life is just an effing bowl of cherries, that's in 5/4.
that's good advice.
So, but yeah, you have to, it can take a while to learn to count it and to feel it. But usually you subdivide it. Like if it's in 5, you break it up into 3 and 2. Or if it's in 11, then, yeah, you have to do some math, which was never my strong suit.
We have some kind words sent in from a multi-platinum drummer who is a massive fan of Queensryche as well as that album Empire. So this is from Rich Bedeau. He played drums on some of the most iconic albums from Finger 11. He was a founding member of Saint Asonia. He's played drums with Chris Daughtry. So this is what Rich had to say. He said, Empire is such an important album in my musical journey. This record really drove the awareness of the relationship between a drummer and a bass player for me. I was so happy when Joel mentioned you would be on his podcast, as I can officially thank you for being a part of such an important record in my life. Thank you for your contributions to music, and I will definitely be digging deeper into your career and music after this. All the best, Robert. So that's from Rich Bedeau.
What a lovely thing to say. Thank you, Rich. It was a big album for me too, because that was my first platinum record that I actually got one, arriving in the mail. I went, what is this? Oh my, it's a platinum record. And it was a good springboard career-wise, actually. So it was nice to get that official recognition and get meeting the producer, Peter Collins, the late Peter Collins, who passed away 6 or 8 months ago, I think it was, because I did the Alice Cooper album with him too. And goes back to what you're saying about networking and the value of, showing up for the gig, doing a good job, and being a nice guy, and having people go, I could work with him again. That's a good thing. But that album was the springboard to many other things as well. So yeah.
It was Rich who actually turned me on to Queensryche. So in the last year or two, what I do is I have guests on the podcast for the first time to do the 2 hour deep dive interview. So that's where we cover their life, their career, their discography. And then I have the most popular guests back a year or so after, and we do my five favorite albums. So we spend two hours diving into their five favorite albums of all time. And one of his choices was Operation Mindcrime from Queensryche. So I was familiar with the band name. I knew they were a popular band. I knew that they were influential, but I couldn't pick out a song of theirs. Uh,
Me
so
neither.
so so with him, I listened to that album in its entirety two, three, four, five times, and I was blown away by the music and the musicianship and the songs, but also the it's a concept album, and it's
Yeah.
hard enough to make a good album with good songs, but to somehow have them in an order that they tell one cohesive story, like it seems like an impossibility to me as a musician to make an album like Operation Mindcrime and actually pull it off to the point where it's considered one of the greatest albums of all time. So I have to thank Rich for actually knowing Queensryche going into this interview with you.
Nice. Oh, that's great. Yeah, concept albums get a bad name, but yeah, it takes an awful lot to do one that stands the test of time, and that's definitely one that stands the test of time for sure.